voters. Today we're going to be speaking about voters registration. So as you know, election 2021 is right in the corner, and there is a lot of registration going on. So we're going to look at areas where people are arguing that people shouldn't register when they are not born in a specific place, and we're also going to look into underage registration going on. Folks are accused of underage registration, foreign registration, and also like like how IEC is preventing people from vetting, people getting registered. So it's a lot, to discuss, and we want to make sure that this election is fair and square. Whoever wins represents the will of the Gambian people. That is important. And as we know, diaspora has been alienated so far on this election. It doesn't seem like we're gonna vote. So which is really, a setback in our democracy. But again, despite of all that, people who are in the Gambia should be vetted and should also be the right people that are eligible to vote. So our discussion today is gonna be based on that. I'm gonna allow our panelists to jumpstart this discussion with Sam Ceesay. Sam, we welcome.
Well, thank you, Mr. Sawaneh. Let me put my car on cruise control here so I won't forget my speed. But anyway, this is a very important topic. And we all need to take a step back and look at our Constitution and think about what is right for our country. Because voter registration can come with a lot of fraud. And as indicated in a lot of forums, and I've even heard on the news, a lot of controversy about this. And what the government really need to make sure that they do is create transparency in this. And unfortunately, that's not the case. And this is going to lead into, can lead into legal issues, because, the voter registration is for Gambian citizens, qualified Gambian citizens that have the legal rights to register to vote. We should not allow any foreigner who does not have any right constitutionally to vote. You can be a foreigner in a country, and say foreigners in Gambia can be in Gambia and they can work, they can do all that. The ones that have the right paperwork to do so can do so. And you have foreigners that go to Gambia, marry Gambian citizens, and have children with them, will naturalize and become Gambian citizens that have the right to vote. They will vote. They can vote. They can register to vote. The ones that don't have the right to vote and not naturalized, they're not Gambian citizens, they don't have any right to vote, should not be told to vote. And unfortunately, from what I'm hearing, if this is all true, that foreigners are being transported into our country from neighboring countries between Senegal and Guinea to come and register to vote in our country. This is really ridiculous. This should not happen. And IEC really may not have the capability to determine who is who, but they really need to watch this very closely. They need to allow all political party members to have their representatives there to make sure that they can witness all of this. That creates transparency, because allowing foreigners to vote, to register, or minors to register who are not going to be 18 to vote, these are all illegal. These are all illegal and should not be encouraged in our country. And unfortunately, our law enforcement officers that should be enforcing this also and should be making sure that all of these are done legally. Sometimes you don't see that happening. Some of them really don't care, or they are doing reckless behaviors to allow foreigners to vote in our country. They need to understand that this is all illegal. They are law enforcement officers. They are not there to represent any party. They are supposed to represent the state to make sure the right things happen. If not, all of this can turn around and bite them. Because if they allow this to happen, or that they participate or facilitate any foreigners registering in our country, What can happen is, what if they need to think about this? What if the current incumbent does not win, and you have another political party leader that wins, or another party wins the election? Well, number one, they've already risked their own jobs. And number two, they've also done something that is illegal. They are law enforcement officers that should be enforcing our laws. And instead of not enforcing our laws, they can lose their job just because of that. For failure to perform their job duties, they can be terminated. They can even be taken to court for facilitating a foreigner to be able to register to vote in our country illegally. Anything illegal is illegal. There's no way around it. Illegal means illegal. There's no right or wrong way of saying anything other than saying it's illegal. Anything that's illegal, we need to all make sure. It's Gambian responsibility. We all need to make sure that we don't encourage this and not allow them to vote or to even register, let alone voting. That way we can uphold our Constitution. That is our right. That is our Constitution, and the Constitution is what we go by. And even the president is below the law, not above the law. So no one has any right to bring any foreigner to register there. So a lot of controversy in there, and unfortunately, the government is not clearing this up. Some people that pretend to be part of the NPP, I'll put it that way, that are supporting the president, want to facilitate this to make sure this happens. I've seen it. I've heard it different ways. I don't know. I don't have any proof. I don't know how true all of this is. That's why I'm saying if it is all true, then it's illegal, and this can end up in the courts. So that's I'll stop here and give Famara a chance to say something. I'm gonna put my phone on mute.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
For briefing.
Famara,
Yep.
go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much, Sawaneh. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Sam, thank you so much for that brilliant presentation of expose. And then my brother Alex from Germany, good to see you. We missed you last week, was it the week before?
Yeah, hello.
We're glad to see you back.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Yeah, this week discussion is very important. As we all know, we're in the election year in Gambia, and then the voter registration has already started in Gambia. And then at the moment, it's going fine, but we're also hearing lots of irregularities. Irregularity in the sense that we are hearing that some alcalos are giving attestation to people who are not eligible, to hold our national document, which is voter registration. And this is very, very important because it's already cleared out. The IEC has already cleared out how the process each citizen should follow to get voters registration. You either have to go with your birth certificate. If you don't have a birth certificate, you have a Gambian passport, you can take it along. You have a national ID card, you can take it along, all right? But also, they also made it clear that a document that is certified by a district CFO or an alcalo of a village of birth, this means you are born in that community, all right? The alcalo on the CFO can be able to provide you a documentation that you can be able to take along to this registration site, and that will qualify you. And this, I think, is very important. And I think the reason why they did it, because most of us in Gambia, we don't value our national document. You will see an adult age, somebody at the age of 18 or even more, does not even have a national ID card. And it doesn't mean that they are not citizens, they are citizens. But that gives you an opportunity that if you don't have a national document, because most of the time we acquire these national documents when we are about to travel, or maybe you are required to go for a job interview where you need to provide your ID as a proof. Those are the scenarios that we usually go for. But you don't see somebody just wake up and say, oh, I need an ID card just for any purpose to go and look for it. All right. But this also is an opportunity where people can take that advantage of, especially people who are not citizens of our country, but because they know that politicians are desperate to get supporters, they can just go and rally behind those politicians who they think might be able to help them to acquire this voters card. So I think it needs to be very, very important that this is beyond politics. It is beyond politics. In any country you go, there is a process that you have to follow to become a citizen of that country. It doesn't matter where you are, whether you are supporting me to become a candidate or you're supporting my political party, it doesn't matter. Whenever somebody comes to you to help you out in any form, oh, sorry, hold on a second. No, it didn't work, sir. Yeah, thank you. I'll try it tomorrow. Okay, thank you, sir. Excuse me for that minute. So if anybody is trying to acquire this national document, we have to make sure the person is eligible. We have to make sure the person is eligible. And there's no compromise for that. In the event we suspect somebody, has acquired this document, like we have seen other political parties doing, especially UDP, I will tell them for that because they are the people going around, which obviously they're going around. I think we should commend them for that aspect of standing to see who acquired, even though they should not do it in a way that is beyond what the law acquires, because there's no way you can profile as somebody like somebody's ID card, you profile the person and see how did he get this or how did he get that. I think that should not be their mandate. But to stand to monitor polling agents to go around the polling stations or the voter registration stations to see, and monitor and get first-hand information, I think that is laudable. Obviously, that is something that they can do, obviously, because that way it will help the IEC and it also help the security forces, to say, we have been to this particular place and they say what we have seen there happening is not something that is in accordance with the law. The police can use that, the IEC can use that, but the IEC cannot be everywhere. And the police also cannot be everywhere. So I think this is very important. When this process is finished, they are able to produce a concrete evidence that somebody has acquired a document that we think the person is not eligible. And then also the alcalos who are also given attestation, they should have a complete list. And I think they are compiling this because I've seen in Fatu news review or the Fatu network, the alcalo of Bundung was accused. But then when they went there to interview the alcalo, and then the family member of the alcalo, one of them said they take a record of every person that they give attestation to, including their residence, their date of birth, whatever. So I think those informations are very vital in the event somebody has doubt over somebody's eligibility to acquire this national document. IEC can have the opportunity to verify, and the police also can have the opportunity to verify, including the immigration, right? So we should not sell our national ID to people just because you want to win an election or you want to win a support. I think every Gambian should take this very, very seriously. We should not profile people based on their color. We should not profile people maybe because the way they speak. That is not something somebody can do, a regular citizen can do. We should leave that to the security forces to do, especially the immigration to do. We should not provide anybody. But when we suspect that somebody is holding our document, that is our duty as citizens to report the matter to the authorities. Then now the authorities can do their job to do it. All right. I come from Brufut, and Brufut also, our alcalo has been accused as well. We have seen it all on the social media, and then we have also seen some of the supporters of UDP in diaspora made a Facebook Live on this particular issue. And I've also listened to one of our journalists in our community who invited, some people in our community that were making allegations against our alcalo. They had an interview with them. I've listened to those stories and audios of people in diaspora who are also Burfutians in diaspora, but they also send audio messages to alcalo to inquire him about these issues, whether it is true or not. I've not listened to the alcalo side of the audio, but I've listened to the audios that were sent from somebody in diaspora to the alcali. So I don't know how true is all of this, but I can tell you that my community has also been implicated in this, and we all know each other in Brufut. And then because it's such a big, but it's very small community, we all know who is who. But I think those kind of information should be investigated. Our national documents should not be easily acquired by foreigners because it is going to undermine our democratization process. It is going to undermine, it's going to make it easy for somebody to become a citizen in our country, which I believe we, the Gambians, do that. We don't go to Senegal or any other neighboring country to interfere in their election. So why is it so easy for us to do that? It's because our politicians are not being honest to themselves, and then they are not being patriotic. They will do anything to win elections, even if means giving out our national document to people who are not eligible, and which is not fair to you and me, because all of us in diaspora in other countries, we have to follow the due process to acquire the legal document of a country that we belong to. Before you can vote in the United States, you have to be a citizen. You know, so all of these have to be followed. It doesn't mean that you are victimizing or you are discriminating somebody. No, but it is the law of the land. Any foreigner that comes to our country, it doesn't matter how long you stay in the country. If you don't follow the due process to become a citizen, it doesn't matter. Whether you've been there for 30 years, 20 years, if you don't follow the process, you cannot acquire our national document. So that needs to be clear to foreigners who live there, who work there, or who married to our sisters, you know, or who have children in our community. They have to follow the law. That is the law. If you don't do that, no matter how long you stay there, you are still not eligible to acquire the document, even though you qualified for it, you know, to get it because of the length of the time that you stay in the country. So I think this is a very important. We engage each other. I think I even expect the police to make a very big conference, a press conference on this matter, to tell every political party, because they put the security forces are there to serve the country. It doesn't matter whether the party of the president or the party of the opposition, or it doesn't matter. The security forces are there to implement the law, to enforce the law. So when they hear such kind of situation going on, they need to come out and even necessary hold meeting with all political party representatives, you know, and make it very clear that they are there for the national interest. Anybody trying to jeopardize national effort, you'll face the full force of the law. That needs to be clear to everybody, so that nobody use your power, your position, or your influence, you know, to do things that are illegal. So I think that's very important. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Famara, for the super briefing.
Thank you. Alas, what do you have to add?
Yeah, they have already said everything. I mean,
there's always some to add.
there's always something to add. I mean, from my own opinion here, we are all right. Someone, Famara, it's our responsibility to see that only Gambian people vote. You know, I used to say that we have problems sometimes because we are not organized.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, because most of the things you can see that we are not organized at all. You know, because at this time we are talking of 21st century. We should have not been talking about this topic now. You understand? Because everything should have got its place, but none of the governments got it right to make sure that when you are born, you know, you get your birth certificate, and through this birth certificate, you can also get your ID card, and through that you can get your passport. Through that you can get your voting card. You know, unless the law says, okay, if you are married to a Gambian, like a foreigner come and married to a Gambian and decide to be a citizen, but that is a process then, what can be done through the immigration so that that person can get citizenship.
Sure, I have to call you back.
So in Gambia, we have also this law. I think just for a short time, they discussed that in the parliament. Who is the Gambian and who is a Gambian? You know, the law is there. So we should not discuss much when the law is there. The law is there to serve the people. So people have to go according to the law. If the law says when the child is born in Gambia is a Gambian, or two parents from outside, they came and the child born there in Gambia, this child is automatically a Gambian, just like in the West, things like that. There are regulations, and these things should be cleared also to the public, to the people. You know, with the question, who is the Gambian? You know, and who is allowed to vote, for example. That's why all this confusion also, which should not have been today, And another thing, what Famara said, people who can give access to people to get this voting card, things like that. When we talk about the alcalos and the safos, that's why I said since independence we couldn't get it right. But that's our problem because those days you have the people at the urban area who can go to the hospital, for example, to deliver a child, and that is then from the hospital automatically registered on paper so that, with birth certificate and so on. It was very easy. But the people who were around Basse on all those areas, they were very far. So they can get 5 kids, but at home, and nothing is registered. So after a time, they are still Gambians, just as Famara said. But they don't have any Gambian document. So these people, only the alcalo or the chef can help to see that, okay, he's born here because I know his father, and I even went to his ceremony. Such evidences to say, but that was easy because those days the villages are very small. Was countable how many people there were. But now, where you have, say, Kalinding, it's almost half Serekunda. When you say Laterkuna, it's almost half Serekunda. So these people are many. You cannot expect any alcalde to know anybody living there. This is the difficult part of it now. Any alcalde or sefo cannot tell you that he knows where every individual live and their name and their surname, because it is bigger than 5. And these are things the governments should have done since Jawara time. They should have done this regulation, to make sure that everything is easy, and it's easy to know who is a Gambian and who is allowed to vote and who not. I mean, before alcalis used to do it because they were just maybe 10 compounds. And now you have 200, 300. And the next problem we have is we don't have street names. This is also something, our weak point. We don't have street names. If you go to any alcalde today and say where is Sawaneh is living, he cannot tell you because maybe he's not very near to Sawaneh, but Sawaneh is living in that community. But the community is very big, and nothing is noted down on paper. And he cannot even explain to you Sawaneh is living on street number, I don't know. So this organization should be there to make everything easy. And this is responsible of the government because the other government didn't do that too. So then when we come to the parties doing that, as Sam said, this is going to be also, this is illegal, very true. And normally those people should go to court, which is very rare, And parties doing that or politicians doing that, they are not patriotic because they are doing that for themselves, not for the nation. You understand? If you are doing something for the Gambia, then you make sure that only the people who are Gambians should vote and not bring people from outside for your own benefit. That person doesn't love Gambia. People should open their eyes because if I should do that, I'm cheating Gambians. And when I do that, I'm not patriotic. I'm not even what to be voted because I am only interested about myself and not the Gambia and the Gambian people. I think some had, or I think Famara has mentioned that, this is illegal and such people should go to court. I don't know if they should get evidences, And then the next thing is, when they say, for example, in Banjul, only people who are born in Banjul should vote for Banjul in Banjul. Some people from Banjul are living in the Combos. They would say they were going to vote in Banjul because that's where they come from. Maybe that is also an easy means to recognize who is even a Gambian or who was born in Banjul or things like that. So that is for IEC maybe easier to know who is who. These are all things to organize. I think the IEC, they can do that or they do that, but they have to work also with the communities outside, institutions, to help them to make sure that all this is done without stress and cheating, or I don't know. I mean, if they cannot do it alone, I mean, even to tell the police to help them in controlling, or the customs at the borders. If they happen to see buses or so full of people, foreigners, just right away before the election entering Gambia, they stop them and make investigations, for example. Because we cannot say every bus who comes to Gambia now is for the political, so maybe they come for other reason. But still, it's their duty to stop them, investigate, and ask them what's the matter, and things like that. Or when somebody is coming with a ship full of Americans going to Gambia now, they say stop, and what is the reason coming with 200 people one time to Gambia, suddenly before our election? Who send you? And things like that, and clear it. And the, sorry, the people, we are having, as Sam said, we are having a lot of foreigners there, and they should also be informed that they can only vote when they are having citizenship. I know the danger is there when they want to get their citizenship, but they go to a politician, because now it's election time, to say, look, if you help me to get my papers, I'll vote for you. Maybe that politician will try and help them in that way, which is also illegal. Because to be a Gambian citizenship, you have to go to the right way and the right channels. If not, it's illegal, you know. But we always talk about illegal. But what is illegal in Gambia? Because a lot of things are being done, which people just take as normal, but it's illegal. And these are also things to be clear to the people, you know. And it's very good, as Famara said also, it's very good that Gambian people also try to be watchers. They watch and see whether there are any irregularities, then they can report the matter. But then it's the duty of the police also to look into it. Is it true or not? Because I think that should be the interest of even all oppositions and even the government himself. Because even if I am Barrow, I hear something like that, I'll come out and try to say, look, people, because that can also be his advantage or his disadvantage, because you never know who brought those people. That can be also the opposition party. And when the opposition party is doing that, it's going to gain, and he's going to lose. So it's the interest of any political party there to make sure that things are done democratically and things are clean and peacefully, which is very important, you know. And people who are going to vote, they should try to see who they give their card. They know that everybody is having his own problem. It's an individual interest and problem. And the time is gone where people only think of somebody to be better. But Gambian people should think of themselves, how to get better. That's my advice to all Gambians, his communities. They should think for themselves, what is going to make me better. So that's what I wanted to say, Mr. Sawan.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys have done an awesome job, going in depth on this topic, voters registration. So I'm just gonna come in and emphasize some little more points here. The reason why this is important, because history has taught us. Drammeh taught us when he asked, where were the 300,000 votes? That was a big statement. Somebody who lost the election calculated the number of people who voted and say, what happened to the 300,000? He forgot that the 300,000 votes were the ones that were born in the center, the illegal votes. So he's questioning for them, because that's how Drammeh operated all these years. That's how he's been winning election. So Gambian people's eyes are open. Our eyes are so open that they want to take this election personally. And I know some of the action that some people do are not correct, but I can understand. If somebody, if somebody kills your family member, if you see the person coming again at your house, you will run away. Same thing. Drammeh killed us with illegal votes, and that's why citizens are jumping right now, and are taking matter on their own hands and acting. So I understand, but my advice to them is, let's not go too far. Okay, somebody can be a citizen of the Gambia and vote at a different place. I can be born in, Kuntauru and then vote in Serekunda for presidential election. That need to be clear. For parliamentary election is different. I have to probably go to my, my district or where my parliament is and go and register there to vote. So we should understand that just because Alice is in Bundun, Alice is come to register in Bundun. I've never known Alice or his family. Alice is not eligible to vote. So I think this was a hot debate on the platform, the platform, WhatsApp chat. And I agree with the people who expressed that sentiment that we should not go too far and then saying that I don't know Alice, I don't know his father. So therefore, Alice is not going to vote in Banjununding or or Bundung or in Sanchaba. So let's try to be very reasonable here. Another thing that I want to mention is the citizens. I think our politicians need to start thinking this election is not about only winning, but this election is about the future of this country. If you go and register people who are not eligible to vote, who are not citizens, who don't earn the citizenry, what you are doing is you are increasing the number of our Gambian citizens, okay, and our population, and that we will pay price for that on the near future. So you are making people to earn citizenship in a very easy way, which is not fair, because anywhere in the world, if you want to become a citizen, you have to work for it. You have to show that you earn it. You have to be a resident. You have to follow certain protocols and certain, immigration laws. So having to give somebody a citizenry just because you wanted to add your vote is totally wrong. And any leader or anybody, opposition who is doing that, you are really harming our nation. Because imagine Gambia's population now is about coming to 2 million. They predicted that the population might in 5-10 years might be about 2-3 million and so forth. Gambia, the land mass is very small and we cannot even sustain, our own self rather than, having to have that population. And then most diasporans will end up moving, going back to the Gambia. Where are they going to have all these resources to accommodate our people? So we need to factor our citizenry, laws and make sure that people who are eligible are given papers to become citizen and vote. Okay? So don't go and register anyone just because you want to vote. If you want to vote, convince the Gambian people. Tell them your agenda. Sell your plans to them. Make them know that you are fit to lead. Then they will vote for you. Go through the front door, not the back door. No more backdoor entrance to the State House. Gotta make that clear. Another thing is we have also heard that there are registration forms that don't have date of birth. My people, I just want us to understand one thing. That is just raising a red flag right there. If you are registering and your date of birth is not a requirement, that means there's a fraudulent way for somebody to register. Because I can bring my 14-year-old child, my 16-year-old daughter, and register that person because there's no date of birth requirement. So there are instances we had, I don't know how true it is, but that has also been out there. So we need to be mindful not to register minors. Okay, these minors might be citizens. Yes, they will be able to eligible to vote. Yes, but let's make sure that we have the same rules for everyone. One group cannot be registering minors, and the other groups are just are following the laws. That's not fair to our election. That is going to have an unfair election outcome. So we need to be mindful about it. We need to make sure that we vetted those people issuing birth certificates. Make sure that they don't actually go and change people's birth certificate just because they want votes. What you're doing, you are undermining the legitimacy of an election, which is the most important election in our lifetime. So we need to understand that as well. Another thing that I want to say is that registration. They said that, and what I heard is registration places were not, well represented when it comes to other oppositional parties. UDP, we have to commend them for doing a wonderful job for making sure that they are in every registration places and be there to verify and to take count of people registering. Because what happened is, if you don't do that, if people are not there and you want to leave IEC alone, let's say you go to Brufut and then the IEC come up with a number that 1,000 people registered in Brufut, but instead only 500 people or 600 people registered. If there's not a third party like UDP folks or other party, who would understand? Who would know what IEC did? IEC might inflate that number to accommodate illegal votes in favor of the incumbent. So this is, I'm not saying that's what is happening, but we need to be vigilant. We need to make sure that political parties don't just run their mouth on the street. You are on social media 24/7. You were saying that I'm running for, no wonder why we have the 17 to 20 political parties. Some of them are just jokes. If you really have the representation, you should be in every registration place, making sure that you are vigilant of the kind of number of registration going on. At the end of the day, you tally the numbers and confirm it with IEC folks. Oh, in Brufut, we have 500 people registered to vote. Then it's in the books. Then if there are a number of votes that casted in Brufut that is more than 500, then we will know who to hold accountable for. So, but this other political party beside UDP, you find very, very, very little representation. Mama Kande's party is doing good when it comes to the provinces where he's represented in Bolonkona areas and so forth. But when you come to Combo, barely no other political parties were involved in registration as much as UDP is. So we kind of encourage folks to put your energy and your money where your mouth is. Don't just take the ride, of making sure that we have a fair election and you are there in the social media or all over the map, talking about, we know that there is something going on. We know that there is something going on. Well, prove it by sending your people. If you have actually more than 500 people, send them. Or unless you have other folks who don't have people. Another thing that we wanna, I want us to look at is, like going to court if we find illegible votes. So this election, most people are believing that it's gonna be won now. Now means this registration time. Elections are won this time. Even Drammeh, that's where he does his thing. Okay, I heard about bus travel. I don't believe all those things. Bus are coming from this place, vehicle are coming this. I have to see the evidence. Now, if we're saying that the incumbent is trying to steal the election, we have to have proofs. How do you have proofs? Gather all the information, hire lawyers, okay? And I don't even believe in the notion that we have to wait for the election to be announced in order to show this proof. No, if you guys, opposition people, it's up to you. Don't sit there and think, you're gonna be here, putting us in chaos after you lost the election, because now is the time. Go around. You have how many people in your party? Go around vetted places. If you have widespread fraud anywhere, bring the evidence. Get lawyers. Bring the evidence. Then people can go to court and try to challenge the credibility of the election. But this cannot be done by just talking. You have to show evidence. So I urge everyone. People are doing a wonderful job. Folks out there are going around making sure that they prove that people are eligible. But also, let's not go too far. Just because somebody is a fuller, somebody is a Jola, we say that he cannot be a Gambia. No, we are here. We are not white, and we are Americans, and we are other nationalities. and we can vote. Nobody comes and say, oh, you are, Africans, dark-skinned Africans, you must not be able to vote. No, I vote against Trump because, I am eligible to vote. So let's not go and see somebody because they are, of a different tribe or different looks and then just ask questions. No, let's make sure that, we find out. Yes, we can ask, we can go to El Carlos, we can find evidence, but let's not take the matter in our hands and started, push and pulling, and then the next thing is fighting just because I see somebody who look like a Fula or a Jola or someone nationality on the line. So I think we have to be decent. We are decent people, Gambian people. Let's continue to be decent. So that's just my 2 cents to add to this conversation. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sawaneh. You said it all. That's very good.
Yeah. So if anybody has anything to add to our conversation, this would be the right time.
That's why I just said sometime that it's better to explain to the Gambians also who is the Gambian, because that is very important. And how is the person in Gambia? Through his birth or two parents come, and because the law is there, when two foreigners get married and then have a child, this child is born in Gambia, is also a Gambian. So maybe this child can vote, but maybe the parents, when they are not having the citizenship, they are not allowed to vote. Because for them, they are still foreigner. Or when a foreigner is married to a Gambian, he can still keep his citizenship, but then he cannot vote in the Gambia. But when he try to get Gambian citizenship, after that, he is allowed to vote. The question is, how is he going to get the citizenship? Do we have that law that when a foreigner married to a Gambian have the ability to apply for citizenship or not? Things of that sort. The law is there. And these things should be clear to the people so that everybody knows who is the foreigner and who not, and then so that we'll have less stress maybe through this election or the voting registration to know who and what. But for the Carlos and the safe zones, as I said, those days, Jawara time, maybe there were just number of people in the village. Compared to today, we are having 200 to 300 compounds, each filled with maybe 10 to 20 people. So just saying the Alcalo knows the people now is going to be difficult, if it is not written on paper. And this is something, I think, that's why I started with all government failed. This is something we should have done long time, since our independence time, try to work on those things. We're talking about now 21st century, but the problem with Gambia is always so. When a problem is acute, they talk about it. So after the election, Mr. Sawaneh, I can promise you, nobody talk about it again. Till the next election again, then So I realized that, they only make it problem as far as it is acute. After nobody talk about it. A problem doesn't just go like that. We have to face it and try to look for a solution and solve it. But not to just talk about it and after it's gone, the election is gone, then everything is thrown away. The problem is not gone, it's coming back again the next election. And this thing has been going round since Jawara time. And we cannot still make a stop in it. That the government says, okay, now we cannot make it, but we have to work on it to make sure that next election nothing will happen like this. It's just like the diasporans voting. Something that should have been done. The IEC should have started 2 years ago to work on this, to make it possible. But nobody will think about it, and nobody will talk about it and make it a problem till it is acute. You understand? And after, also, you hear nobody talking about it again. So that's not a way to solve problems. That's just what I wanted to say. If we have a problem, we have to face it, and to be real to ourselves, what I always say, which is a problem, to be real to ourselves, not following anything because of our interest or anything, If you are a patriotic Gambian, think of the Gambia and not yourself. And that is something what I advise to every Gambian, so we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Alas. Yeah, I think Sam wanna say something.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. Yes.
Okay. Good.
Yes, sir.
All right. Just wanted to make sure. Well, first, I want to thank all of you. Famara said some very important stuff. Alice as well as Sawaneh, and I think this is a good way to really sensitize people. And what I wanted to add to all of what we all said is, for Gambian citizens to really be vigilant and look for evidences, because, I said this before and I said it today again, that this election year can end up in court. And all you need is one evidence. And evidence is an evidence. If it's a true evidence and it stands out as a violation of the law, it will be upheld in the court. So very, very important for people to have that evidence. If they see anyone that is or has been registered to vote, and clear evidence that that person is not a citizen of the Gambia, they have every right to bring it to the court. So that's important. And I've also said this, and I knew this will happen. Back in the days when IEC published the required documents for registering to vote, which was the passport, your birth certificate, your national identity card, ID card, and the attestation from the alcalde and the chiefs. I said at that time, I spoke at that time, and I said, this attestation document is going to be a problem. It's going to create a problem for Gambians during registration, because the door is open for fraud in there. And I knew that. And I said this at that time, is going to be a problem. And look at where we are now. It is a problem. And I've even seen and heard that people are coming from one part of the country because they live in Combo and you want to go to Alcalo in Combo to write an attestation. That's not what it is for. It is for the Alcalo in Combo cannot certify that you were born in Gambia when you were born in Basse. They have no way of knowing that. So it can only be done by your hometown Alcalo. And that is the person that's going to know you fully, know your parents, know where you were from, what compound you came from in that village or town, to be able to attest to it and clearly say that, yes, they can attest and certify that you were born in the country. So there are all kinds of problems. There are all kinds of loopholes to it. How can a chief also write an attestation that you were born in the country? A chief doesn't know. The chief may have been appointed 3 months ago and put in that place when you were born a long time ago, and the chief had no clue by doing that. So these are things that are really a window of opportunity for people, for any political party to take advantage. And normally, especially, is the incumbent. The incumbent wants to stay in power. Normally, that's when you see things like this happen. So you don't normally see a political party, a minority group, to come out and try to register voters to win. It's more like the incumbent that wants to stay in power, just like Mr. Sawaneh said, from Jammeh's 300,000 votes. So these are things that we really need to pay attention to. And like I said, I can see this election year end up in court. It can happen because of all the irregularities that are happening in there. And of course, we need to make sure that, yeah, we can be vigilant, just like you all said. We need to avoid stereotyping. What you are describing is stereotyping. Saying that somebody is light-skinned, they are fuller, they may be from Guinea. If you just look at that, that's not an evidence. That's stereotyping. You're stereotyping people because they look like fullers. So therefore you think they're fullers, and therefore you think that they may be from Guinea. There is no certainty in it. There is no clear evidence, 100% evidence that they are definitely not Gambian citizens. So we need to stay away from stereotyping, but stay with evidence and follow that constitution. And it is clearly stated in the Constitution. Now, unfortunately, I'm driving. I would have pulled it up on my computer and pull up this section and talk about all of the citizenship
No,
requirements.
it's okay.
You know, yeah, the citizenship is clearly stated in the Constitution, and we need to make sure we follow that. And the other part to add to what Alice said also is the preparation. I keep saying this: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You know, there should be clearly, these are the things that should have been on television a long time ago. In fact, when IEC produced those documents or a list of required documents for eligibility to be registered as a voter, there could have been a television series on this. They could have gone to television. I mean, they put it on paper, that's fine. Political parties should have taken advantage of this and go on television and pay and get to television and talk about these and say, you know what, these are the requirements. And we urge that anyone that's not a Gambian citizen should stay away from elections, because Gambians are not going, I think Famara said this too, Gambians are not going to other countries to vote there. We should not allow anybody from other countries to come and vote in our country if they are not citizens. And another thing, a solution to this as well, if we really want to do this, and I don't think that the government will do this because it may be against them, the current incumbent, but so another solution to this is similar to what I proposed in 2016 elections. 2016 elections, I virtually formed a group called Citizens on Patrol. Citizens on Patrol, I made them go out to all the neighboring border countries or villages and towns to make sure they are vigilant and watch out for people crossing our borders to come to vote in our country and call immigration. Call the authorities and report them. I mean, you can't take the law in your hands and say, well, you're coming from so-and-so place, so therefore you shouldn't be voting here. But we need to be able to make sure that we let the authorities know and allow them to do their job. So if in reality, right now, all the international community are watching. Now, we always forget that we have American Embassy in Gambia. We have the British High Commission in Gambia. We have EU in there. We have all the major players in the country. They all have representatives in there. They watch the news. They read the newspapers. They see what's on Facebook. They already know that there's fraud in our system. They already know that. They know that there's fraud in our system. And they're going to be watching for this. And they're going to be the ones that are going to say they can tell their countries that this election is really not fair because here is what we've seen and what we heard that happened. And if it goes to court, they know that this is something that they expected to happen because of all the loopholes, because of the irregularities in there and all of that. So Gambian people really need to be vigilant. We need to pay attention to all this. And our country need to know that the international community is watching. They're hearing everything that's being said, what is happening in our country. And we really should not allow foreigners to vote in our country that are not eligible to vote, because what that does is going to influence an election of a person that the majority of Gambians don't want. So we will be forced to take a precedent that we really don't want. Because if it was only up to the Gambian citizens to vote without any foreign influence there, chances are there may be a change in the government. There may be a change in the presidency. So all of these are things that we need to watch out for. And unfortunately, if we allow foreigners to vote, another disadvantage of this is, or another consequence, I would put it that way, is that once they have our voter registration to vote, we allow them citizenship in a very easy way, easy path, when Gambians don't have that opportunity anywhere else in the world. We're allowing them to come to our country, get free citizenship without following the due process, just like Famara said. And then in the near future, who knows? Their children are now going to be citizens. Their children and our children are going to compete to become presidents or mayors or councillors in our own country, and they can win and take control of what Gambians should have been control of. These are all bad things that can happen. So it's really bad to allow things like that to happen. You know, so we really, and another thing, one last thing I'll say and leave it at that, is if we really want a solution to this is if the government will do this, and that is by saying a month before election, all right, have our borders protected by our immigration officials.
Yeah.
Close them or at least protect them. Not necessarily close them, but have immigration officials posted at every entry point in the country.
Yeah.
So everyone that comes into our country, we let the immigration do their job. You know, think about this. If you're in America and you leave America and go somewhere else, you think during time of election, the day of election, you can enter the country by showing your voter's card? Well, the voter's card will let you into America? No, that's not going to let you in America. You're going to have a passport. You're going to have to prove that you are a true citizen of America, or at least a legal resident of America to be able to even enter the country. So if we can put our immigrations in our borders during elections, anyone that wants to cross the border to come into Gambia, you need to have documents to be able to get into the country. You need to have those. It's not just the voter registration that's going to let you into the country, because chances are anyone that shows that the voter registration, but they have citizenship in another country and don't have any other document in the Gambia, really should not be allowed to come and vote. They have to prove that they are citizens of the Gambia along with their voter registration to be able to allow them to come to our country and vote. This is another way to stop them, but our immigration really need to step up their game and be vigilant and be true patriots and protect our country just like they're supposed to be. They're not there to protect any incumbent. They're not there to represent any political party. They're there to represent the state, because if there is whether there's a change of government or not, the immigration will stay as they are, our civil and public servants that serves our country. They're there to serve our country, and they need to help with this. That's all I wanted to add to that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
You said it. In fact,
But let's see if Famara has anything. Yeah.
Yes, Sam raised a very important thing. Like we have a lot of foreign diplomats in the Gambia, and they are watching every step of the way that we do in our how we govern our country. You know, because most of the elections in the Gambia, we depend on you know, international donors or international development partners like the EU, the United Nations, because UNDP contributes a lot when it comes to voter registration exercises. So therefore, they play a crucial role in, they are very much involved in this process. That's why certain statements by politicians or even a head of state or some of the allegations that are coming out in this voter registration process, and they are not being handled properly, you know, are things that can go against our country. Because they can say, this happened, this happened. They listen to news, they read every newspaper, they buy every newspaper in the country. And there are people whose specific job in this embassy is to see how the governance system is working in our country. You know, how the people are being treated who are taking part in this election process. So it's very, very important. It's very key, and I thank Sam for that. And then the other thing is, you know, the giving an opportunity to people to hold our citizenship, our national document. And we know that they are not citizens. Like Sam said, they are going to compete with us, our healthcare system, all right? You know, our education system, you know, our governance, they can be in the government. So the way sometimes you have an attached to how the feeling you have for your country is going to be different from somebody who is not born there, but he just acquired the citizenship. You understand? He's just going to use our country either as an opportunity, you know, to take opportunity to acquire our free education, for example, if Gambia becomes one, our free healthcare system, if we had one, you know, and then also, you know, enrich themselves, because Gambia is a country where a lot of foreigners are making a lot of money. We might think we are in poverty or the country is not doing very well, but I can tell you there are a lot of foreigners that are doing very well in the Gambia. They're making a lot of money than they were making in their countries. You know, whether you are in the fishing industry, whether you are in the tailoring industry or other skills jobs, they are making a lot of money. You understand? Are they paying taxes the way they should? In fact, if they are not, you know, foreigners, if they are foreigners, for example, they are they have the right to work in the Gambia, the taxes that they're supposed to pay is not be the same as citizens. So we are losing revenue in this, and there are potential implications as well. So these are all very, very important. And some also mentioned in our constitution is very clear, who can become a citizen. If you are born in the Gambia, right, one of your parents should be a Gambian for that child to qualify to become a citizen. So this means that if anybody comes from Senegal, whether the father or the mother or the both of them came from Senegal, and they've been living in Gambia for 5 years, 7 years, whatever, and they happen to, born children in the Gambia, those children are not qualified according to our constitution. I'm talking about 1997 constitution. Those children are not, because none of the parents are not citizens of the Gambia. But if a Senegalese come and marry a Gambian, for example, at least one of the parents is a Gambian. So obviously that child has the right to become a citizen of the Gambia. So that's one, that is acquiring citizenship by birth. And then also we talk about the marriage, because there are people coming into our country, they're living there for a while, and then all decided to marry our sisters, which is very good. But any foreigner that comes to marry in the Gambia, citizenship by marriage, you have to be in that relationship for at least 7 years. And that regards, obviously, even if the marriage got finished, also you are eligible to become a citizen by marriage. If you are in that marriage, even if the marriage is over, but so long as you get married and you've been there, the marriage has been going on for at least 7 years, you can do that. You can naturalize as well, just like you, Sawaneh, me, and Sam, we are in diaspora. If our kids are born here, and I'm a Gambian, my wife is a Gambian, my son born in America is qualified to become a Gambian, because the both parents are Gambians, So naturalization is also there, but the naturalization also, the constitution mentioned that if you stayed in the country for 15 years, if a foreigner comes from Senegal and he has been in our country for 15 years, right? The person is eligible and that there's conditions attached to it. That means you must have the required age, say you cannot just come from Senegal at the age of 2, and then because you live in Gambia for 15 years at the age of 17, then you are not qualified, even though you live in the Gambia for 15 years, you cannot be a citizen at that time because you don't meet the age and you don't meet the capacity yet. And you must be a good character in the sense that you are not somebody who is violating our laws or wanted by the police for criminal offenses or whatever. So all of those factors have to be looked into. And then, and then we also have to see that, you are capable of supporting yourself and the family or the dependents that are with you. So it could come from Senegal, you have a lot of families and you want to become a Gambian citizen. And we found that either you are a criminal or you are one time wanted by the police, or maybe you are not even, taking care of yourself, so, and you have a lot of dependents with you. So that person is not qualified to be. So these are the 3 areas in our constitution that say how non-citizens are eligible to get citizenship in the Gambia, So it's very clear in the constitution. So I think our politicians need to be honest to themselves, know that anybody you help in a legal way to acquire our documents, it is illegal, and then, you have compromised our, our national document, our sovereignty, So in that case, in fact, God will question you for that, because that person that you given that citizenship, you never know what the person is going to do our country. The person can even become a soldier in our country, have access to our national intelligence, and know how our country operates. And then maybe after a few years, the person can just leave the service and decide to go back to his country of origin. And then maybe in future, he might even try to do something bad, because he's already had the privilege of living in the country and working in the country. He knows our system. He knows how everything works. So those are the dangers. The politicians are not going to be there forever. Every president goes and comes. Let us do things in a very nice manner. When it comes to identifying who is eligible, let us all unite on this aspect. Even somebody wants to vote for you, tell the person, are you eligible? Make sure the person is eligible. Don't help the person because he wants to vote for you, but make sure that you have the Gambian heart as a patriotic citizen. Let him follow the due process of the law. We have all been in the foreign land. We are in the foreign land. We know how things are here. If they catch you, that's completely going to jail. And after your jail time, they're going to send you out because you're a criminal. You're trying to infiltrate into the system here, which is illegal. So this is what we need to know. And now most of the foreigners are taking this advantage. Instead of going the right way to acquire the documents, they wait this time when it's campaign time. And they know that a politician in my community, they will go to them. Hey, you know that I've been here for over 20 years, right? I've been doing my business here, my children are here, right? So, and I've been struggling because maybe this particular alcalde don't like me, or this particular party, there are people, they don't like me. So I think you are the only one who can help me. You went and stand for that person tooth and nail. Either you use your money, your influence, or your power to get that person the voters. When the person is even eligible, because if he has lived in that country for 15 years, all he has to do is go through the normal process, apply to the immigration, and then they will vet you. And then the community you live in, they will verify how long you've been staying there, because you are living in our community. We know that you are a good man, you are a Muslim, you are even an imam in our community. You do lead prayers in our community, even though you come from outside. We just all did they need to do it. The authorities will do their job and give you the chance to become a citizen, in a right way. So I think this is very, very important, Sam and gentlemen. So I think every politician, we should all connive together. Let it not be one party doing it. Because if we see one party doing it, others might think it is the party against the foreigners, when they are actually doing what they're supposed to do. You understand? But they have a limit too where they should go. When you suspect something, all you need to know, just get the details, because you have the right to ask an IEC officer the list of people they registered for a day. That is a right to get that. You have the right to ask Alcalo the list of people that they give attestation to. So you can get all those evidence without confronting the person that you suspect might be having a voter's card illegally. So you don't have to approach that person. You don't even have nothing to do with the person. You can talk to the person if you want to get more information, yes, but don't harass the person, don't profile them, and then don't even go into an argument to a point where it could become a conflict between you and them. But the IEC's list is evidence, which will be going to be published. Alcalo's attestation is a list that can be evidence. You can use all that to go to that community and then get the right information you need. And the authorities will do that. The immigration or the police or the IEC will do that. So I think all the politicians should join hands together. In fact, when they see it, all the politicians doing together, some people will even be scared, to go to a polling station where they know that I am not eligible. But if the president's party is saying this is not supposed to happen, or the other political party is saying why the one opposition party is doing this when others are not doing it, then we are all compromising. Then at the end, like Sawaneh said, this is the time elections are stolen, not when the votes are cast. This is the time they are stolen, not when it is cast, because a vote that is already cast in our system, there is no way one can steal from one ballot box to another. No, there is no way, because it's all count on spot, and then polling agents are all there. But what we don't know is, you cannot win by the size of your crowd, in a political gathering. All you have to make sure emphasize people to register and also monitor the registration process, because this is what we failed to do in Drammeh time. And that's how Drammeh used to, win elections, in that process, because we all ignore that part. We based on our assumption that, hey, these guys have a big crowd. Look at them, going to a meeting.
And also fear factor.
Yeah, and the fear, exactly. So this, I really highly commend those politicians going out to see for themselves what happened and then collecting evidence. And I hope the other political parties will follow suit. It's not about, somebody being concerned, but it's about, we want to make sure the whole process is fair, and we want to make sure our national documents are not falling in wrong hands, because tomorrow is going to haunt all of us when those politicians are no longer in office. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Famara. Thank you. So I have a question. Maybe anyone can answer that. That the question is, an attestation is needed when someone has a birth certificate already, or when their birth certificate is not, cannot be confirmed. I mean, who can answer that?
Yeah,
I just want clarity on that.
if it is Gambian birth certificate, that person is born in Gambia and is a Gambian and have all rights. Has the right to have voting card and passport and everything. He's a citizen.
Yeah,
But if you
attestation is
have,
given to people who
but if
don't
you
have
have,
national document at all.
that's
Either
it.
they
That's
don't
it.
have a birth
But when
certificate, they
you
don't have an ID,
right,
nothing at all. But if you have a birth certificate, that's a requirement right there. You can use that to go and register straight away. You don't need attestation,
So,
Yep.
so why would an attestation be given if somebody don't have any national documents?
So that's why it's important. Like,
so that you can get voting card.
Go ahead.
Yep. That is my point. That is my point. That's what I raised when the first time IEC announced that was a list of documents. I said, attestation is going to create a problem because it's for people that have nothing. You have no document to prove yourself.
Yes.
That's when you will go to your alcalde of the town or village that you were born.
Yes.
For that person to testify that yes, they know your parents, they know you were born in that village or you were born in that country, that town.
Yes.
However, you don't have any birth certificate because when you were born, that was not captured in the medical records. So therefore, the alcalde can give you that attestation for you to take that to the medical records and say, now I need my birth certificate because I was never registered here in the first place. That's what that should be for. It really, and people should not be using that to go get a voter's registration. When you don't still have a birth certificate, you don't have anything.
So why would somebody wait until up to 18 years, time to vote?
That is the point.
You have no document and you never look for one.
That's why I said it here, Mr. Sawaneh. I said it here. I mean, before those days, say there were a time, the alcalde or the chef, he can tell you every individual where he's living, his name, his OPA, I don't know, because it was easy. There were maybe only 10 compounds. So, and now compared to 2021, the alcaldes cannot know every individual, and that is dangerous.
It's very
What Sam
questionable.
said, that is questionable.
Yeah. Very questionable. That's why it should not have been used.
If they are Gambians, he's not so. He can say, okay, I know somebody who knows him and things like that. So, and the people who didn't have any paper, you cannot blame them. I mentioned it here. When women deliver babies in the common areas those days, maybe you can go to hospital and it will be medically recorded. But when they are born somewhere very far, this tradition, the ceremony will be there and that's it. And this child is not told that he needs it. And maybe he doesn't need it even because it's not a place where the police always control ID card and so that they can even think of it because they are free. It's not like the urban areas, so they'll not think of it. Maybe only if election comes.
Okay,
but then it's a problem for the alcalde having compounds of 300 or 400, and every compound, I said it here, and every compound is 20 people. How can this alcalde or chef tell you exactly who is this person? That's our problem.
Yeah.
That's why I told you these are problems we discussed today. I know Gambians. It's something we should have declared the problem since the independence time.
Okay. Alice.
You see, this problem is still following us because none of the government start to say, look, doesn't matter where you're born, whether you are born in Combos or where in Koina, you are asked, or parents are asked to go and register the child, so forth. And if you don't do it, it's a crime. This should be also a law.
Exactly.
So the problem we are talking about, the Europeans don't have that because they try to solve the problem once and for all. And that's what we don't do in the Gambia. We talk about it after the election, we forget about it. So we talk about it again the next 5 years without solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's
that brings me. I think this is attestation is really. I mean, it will raise eyebrows because I know. Yeah, Alice is right. Some people were born We don't know our date of birth, our papers were messed up, and then, so forth, back in the days. That's correct. But now, you know that you are going to be 18. You want to tell me you don't need a document all these years, and all of a sudden you have to come because election is coming and say that you want to vote. That's why you want this document. So that is where the problem is. I haven't seen it here. Anyone in the Europe here or in America here who will ask for attestation to go
Yeah, in the Gambia, what you said, Mr. Sawaneh, is true. Even in the Congo areas, if at all that the police were not always controlling ID cards, nobody will care. But, the controlling is only because it's only too heavy around the combos. That's why every individual is running for it. But before, nobody cares because nobody needs it unless you want to travel or things like that. You understand what I mean? So if you go in the rural areas, there is no police controlling or asking for ID card, and I don't need it as a Gambian. I know that I'm a Gambian, so I don't bother. Before I pay my money and go up to Banjul and try to get these papers, I can put the money somewhere else. You know that? Things like that. Because it's not urgent. So when it comes to election and you are told that you are a citizen, you have to show your citizen rights. That is how politicians come. They try to make it important for you at that time. You have to make sure that you vote. You are a Gambian. You have to show your Gambian right. La 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 la.
So this
So when you start to go and look for these papers.
Exactly. So this open a loophole for other national to say I am also looking for attestation because my documents were all messed up. They never been recorded. So that's what I'm trying to say here is that we have to close this loophole. Since 2016, we have New Gambia. People know that people gonna be reading. Voting is the most important, crucial thing because we prove that we can take our leaders out. So why wait 2016 up to 2021? And even if you are in Santanto Bubu, the village, whereby two or three compounds are there, you know what's going on in this WhatsApp era. You know that people need, ID. You know that there's no excuse now. Let's close that loophole, close completely, so that foreigners and other people don't come in and use it as a way in. Because that's why I support Roy Marikulo's stand that not to give any attestation in Banjul, because if I make this thing, I will do the same thing. Because why would I need it if you never if you never care about having documents? So forget about it. Don't vote.
Right, you can do that, but normally every Gambian, that's why I said all these three governments didn't do it right, because every Gambian national should have these papers. You understand? That is their right, being a citizen, and the government should make sure that it's easy for them to get also access to these things, or not to wait until it's election, until they wanted to be voted. They want to make it important for them.
Exactly.
Yeah, in fact, most of the people go to school. You have to produce a birth certificate. So at least one time you must have acquired a document. If you get lost, you got a birth certificate before it's lost. Go to the national records. They have you there. They can make you another birth certificate. And then I think even the national ID, if it is lost, if you go to immigration, I think they can still trace you out. I'm not sure about the immigration. But for the birth certificate, if you lost it, you go to the national records, they will be able to get another one for you. And it's a requirement in old school. Some of these people going for attestation now, they have been rejected in hospitals because the nurses will not register anybody. You have to pay a non-citizenship fee, in the hospital if you want to go for a treatment, because they ask you for your ID. If you don't have ID, you don't pay the same as the citizens pay. You pay the other fees that needs to be paid. So some of them are taking advantage of this loophole right now, to get it. And once they get hold of the voter's card, and then they're going to do that process again to get the national ID card, and then they will officialize their status, because nobody will go after anybody here, asking you where's your passport or ID card. So they can do that, to beat the system. So just like someone said, I think next election in 2026, I don't think this attestation, the next electoral reforms, it should be off the list. It's a big loophole right now. Yeah, and then people are taking advantage.
Yeah, but thank you, Famara. I mean, as I used to say, no, but it's the responsibility now of all Gambians.
Take the next right.
Doesn't matter which party they are, to make sure that they are patriotic, and
Continue for half a mile.
the party supporting that doesn't know that maybe that can also be a big disadvantage for him. For Gambians,
Right.
it's clear, as Sam said, because you are not giving the Gambians the chance to vote correctly.
Exactly.
And that is unpatriotic, you know. And the people bringing other parties, I don't know, bringing people there to cheat votes and things like that. This is also not good. You know, that can also be their own disadvantage. That's why I said here, people should not think of themselves, but think of Gambia and the Gambian people. For me, these are the good leaders. You know, don't think of yourself.
Right.
That's it, and that's the mentality African leaders should also have. Not only thinking of themselves, but the people.
Right. Yeah. I think we exhausted this topic. This is very interesting. I think our listeners will really have a lot of takeaway. You know, people to be vigilant. You know, coming out. You know, and making sure that you know, registrations are monitored not only by one party but multiple parties to make sure that IEC tallies match with their records. To make sure that the borders. Some mentioned that the borders, you know, closure, not only border closure but border patrol. You know, especially during the election day. If you cannot be in the country before that, you know, like you shouldn't just, you know, come in and vote. And also, you know, making sure that like, you know, citizens are eligible. You know, if you have the right age, you know, you are given, you know, registration to opportunity to register. If you don't have the right age, don't register. So I think we have, you know, unless anybody has anything, but we have really exhausted this topic, and you know, our audience will definitely benefit from this.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Sawaneh.
Yeah, thank you, Alice. Famara, if you guys don't have anything, we can wrap it up. And then thanks to our audience. Sam, I know, you know, Sam just stopped right now.
Yep.
Yeah, he's always on the car. Tom, Famara.
Yeah, thank you.
Then bye-bye.
Yeah.
People did a great job.
Thank you
here.
all.
Wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful
thank you all.
discussion. Thank you so much for
Yep.
everything.
Thank
you
you
I
know.
all.
hope it will help our publicum also.
Yes.
Hope that they can learn something from it.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
So bye,
Bye now.
America.
Thank you. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Famara.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.